I took a little bit of a risk, decided to conduct a human experiment. Somebody is prepared to give me $35 for a $20 note. How is that possible? How does that work? What has just happened is based on a study that Harvard University did many years ago. They called it competitive arousal.
Officially the best auctioneer in Australasia, Andrew North.
Twice crowned Australasian Auctioneer of the Year.
Andrew has called thousands of auctions.
Competitive arousal is a phrase that they coined to explain why sometimes business starts off sensible, but then at some point in time can change to win at all costs.
So what did you have to do to win it?
Andrew, look, the elephant in the room, are auctions still working? Are they still the method of sale today?
Well, it's a great question and a really fair question because, clearly we've been through some tougher times and, I reckon at the moment selling in the market, it's all about creating confidence and reassurance. And so
Yes.
I still see from a confidence and reassurance perspective, if I can get somebody bidding against somebody else, it's a wonderful way to create that confidence. But for me, auctions really more about human behaviour than anything else. And
Please tell.
I'll tell you a fascinating story. I went along to a school. I was asked to go along and talk about real estate and negotiation.
Yeah.
And at the end of the presentation, I took a little bit of a risk and I decided to conduct a human experiment, and I had a $20 note. And I said to the auditorium, I got a $20 note here. I'm going to auction it off, a $20 note.
Like one of those?
Yeah, like one of those.
You got a few
note.
of those?
No, I haven't got any of it, but I'll show you. Show you how it went.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
I took the $20 note and I said, okay, guys, I'm going to auction this off. I'll take an IOU, you can pay me afterwards, no issues whatsoever. And so some young bloke called out $5 and I go, okay, good on you, $5 for
That makes sense.
Makes sense all day.
4x your money.
Absolutely. Somebody then calls out 7 and we went straight to 10. Still making good sense, right?
And people are laughing, going, yeah, it's good value.
Having a great time.
Everyone loves a bargain.
Everyone's smiling. So we go to $10 and then somebody calls out $15. Young lady goes to $17. Not quite so good a deal, but
Still makes sense.
still makes sense. $3 up, right? And then somebody calls out $20. It was fascinating. $20.
Ooh.
Yeah. But then it got really interesting. Somebody goes $25. And I want to be clear, this is a private school. The parents are paying for their kids to go along and get this.
IQ probably higher than mine, but yes.
Anyway, to cut a long story short, we paused the auction at $35.
$5.
And so I said to the students, I said, okay, we're just going to stop for a moment and just take on what's happened here. Somebody is prepared to give me $35 for a $20 note. How is that possible? How does that work? And the whole school laughed, right? And they thought it was a great joke. And I said to them, look, what has just happened? What we've seen just happen is based on a study that Harvard University did many years ago. They called it competitive arousal.
Yeah.
And competitive arousal is a phrase that they coined to explain why sometimes business starts off sensible, but then at some point in time can change to win at all costs.
Yes.
And they actually mentioned auction as a method of sale designed to create competitive arousal.
Yep.
So I still see human behaviour like this in our schools, and so I still think that this particular selling method has a presence and has a place still in current society.
Classic where logic, $20 is worth $20.
Of course.
But emotion is, logic goes out the window. The emotion is competitive arousal. I don't want to lose.
Yeah.
And we see that even with an auction which only one bidder too, right? Because that buyer has to convince the other bidder, who's the owner, that they have to sell. So it can still happen with just one bidder as well.
Oh, look, the first thing that I say to any buyer that believes they're on their own at an auction, I say, hey, you're never on your own at an auction. You're either competing against another buyer or competing against the seller, but you're never on your own.
Yeah. The facts are that you've got an 8 to 10% chance last month of selling your property, cash unconditional, where auction at the moment sitting somewhere around 30 to 50%, depending on, different weeks it fluctuates, right? So you're 3-4xing your chances of selling cash unconditional if you go through that method. It's not perfect, but it's the best of the rest.
It seems to be. And it seems to be still working. And I still think that, people that are prepared to exploit a little bit of bravery at the moment are the ones that are more likely to get rewarded down the track.
Great.
Nothing's easy at the moment.
Oh, yes.
But all our job is to try and give people an opportunity to sell for as much money in as short a period of time as possible. And with those days on market creeping up, man, if you can get a cash sale and on with your life in 3 weeks to 4 weeks, there's value there as well. Well, you talked about the clearance rates not being as high. I did just want to say the last 6 weeks at the Harcourts Cooper Co, we've been 50% and above. So
is that a little bit of product placement?
I believe so. I believe so. I had to get that in there.
Of course.
So we are seeing things sort of trying to wake up, trying to improve. But of course, if we are selling 50%, there's 50% not selling.
Yes.
So from your experience and from what you're seeing out there, can we talk about campaign killers? What's mucking up the auction? What are some simple things that maybe if we changed, we could change the outcome?
Well, there are a number, but let's start with, we talk about the P's, right? Presentation, price, paperwork. So, having all those ducks lined up around paperwork, around limbs, around are they clean, are they tidy, auction agreements, all those things that can be problematic to getting a success on auction day itself. So a campaign killer for me is the paperwork's not lined up.
Rightio. So we're not organised.
Correct. Go to the market too fast, right? And speed sometimes can eat into your equity because you're trying to move too fast, take shortcuts, and that costs the seller money.
And it's interesting, one of the things we were talking about earlier is about LIMs, Land Information Memorandums. How often we start a campaign, we think everything's hunky-dory, we get the LIM.
Where's the LIM? Oh no, it's on its way.
And then all of a sudden the LIM arrives and we find out in this world of Kiwi DIY that a deck's been put on, it's over 1.5 meters and it doesn't comply, needed consent.
Bathroom been retiled a few years ago. Oh, you don't need a consent for that? No, yes you do.
Yes. So I think that's a great advice. Get all your ducks in a row, get everything tidy so you launch cleanly. I think that makes really, really good advice. Price. The elephant in the room, right?
Another one. We've got a few today.
Well, a big elephant in the room.
Yes.
Because would it be fair to say, when you list your house without a price, right, and you go to the market, the first question most of the buyers are going to be saying to you is, what do they want? What's the price?
Oh, you know.
You must. Well, you should. You're the expert, aren't you?
Yes, but auction is not a science, it's an art. It's different things to different people. And the challenge at the moment is everyone has to navigate all of those algorithms. CV, One Roof, Trade Me, realestate.co, all saying this is the ranges. So there's a lot of information out there, isn't there?
Yeah, and I guess a lot of information on one hand can be good, but actually it can create confusion, paralysis and bits and pieces. I'm a buyer, hey, what's it worth? What are you hearing them say?
One of my biggest frustrations is I hear some agencies going, it's an auction campaign. Well, we know that. That's why we're asking the question. Oh, it's been hard to get feedback. It's early days. No. They want a direction. They want roadmap. So, Andrew, more than happy to talk price. But I'm also not here to prejudice the opinion of what my owners will sell for because, frankly, they don't know it either. And it's the same with the buyers, right? No one knows what they're going to do until they're faced with it. So what I can tell you is round the corner sold for X amount of dollars. Did you see that property?
No, I didn't.
Yes, no. One round the corner sold for here. So is that kind of the circa the range that you're shopping at, Andrew? When you take into account my owner's motivation, I'm not saying that's the number, but are you in that circa and range?
Yeah. No, I think some really good tips there. And if I was to sort of summarise, it sounds like there's only so many things that we can control.
Yes.
We can't control it all. So, for example, what I mean that we can look logically at what it should sell for, and the stats that we're showing our owners at appraisal time, they're no secret. We can show them to the buyers.
Get the owner's permission to show, so there's full disclosure. Great.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But then, secondly, would it be fair to say the buyers don't always tell us the truth? They don't tell us where they see opportunity.
No.
And then, you're right. Our owners, they'll go into auction day optimistic, but they'll have a bottom number and they don't usually share that with us. And I don't have any issue with that.
No.
I'm happy to go into auction day with them optimistic and they've got their bottom number, and if that's all we get to. But it makes it hard when somebody says, what will the owners take? Because often I think they're asking us, what's the lowest an owner will take? And I don't know that.
No.
So fundamentally, I can help you here, I can't help you with this, I can't help you with that. have a look around the property. What I can tell you is that our owner in the middle of winter is not doing this for fun, or our owner's off to Australia, or our owner's doing this and this is the reason why, and they want to meet the market.
You've got a genuine seller that we've put in front of you. Ducks are all lined up with their paperwork, so you can have full confidence that I'm showing you one of the best properties with an owner that's motivated to sell. Here are some of the numbers. Take all your own feedback into account, and there's always value for people at a certain number. So who knows? Turn up.
Right. So this all works well, of course, if you've got buyers to talk to. A reasonably good campaign killer is no one's coming through the open homes, we've got no one to engage with.
Yes.
So what happens when that happens, or if that happens?
Well, after week one, you've got to sit down and you've got to have a meeting. You've got to be hitting those KPIs. Like we know roughly, different markets, different times, but effectively for every 10 people, some places it's 15, some it's lower. But for that group of numbers, let's say 10 to 1, usually you tend to find one buyer. Now, whether they're cash, whether they're conditional, they're the odds over years and thousands of auctions that we've done that you're trying to hit.
So what you're saying to me is if I want to have 5 bidders at my auction, I need
50 groups,
maybe 60 groups of people through the property, and hopefully, law of averages, it'll whittle down.
Yes.
Is that achievable in this market, in this climate?
Well, some are still getting it and some aren't because, again, there's a lot of stock on the marketplace. There's only 10% of the stock is actually selling at the moment. So you've got to be highly competitive and you've got to know that the homes are not sitting in isolation. So when you take it to the market, it has to stand out. Doing the same as everybody else, you're going to get the same result.
Okay, so we've had no one through the weekend, and what you're saying to me is we need to call a crisis meeting, an emergency meeting, or whatever. We need to sit down with the owners.
Well, even if things are going well, we still have to have the meeting just to go check and measure, right?
Fair crack.
Yes.
And then if things haven't gone well, we have to change something.
Correct.
What do we change?
Well, the search range, you've got to get agreement to change the search range. If it's in the wrong range, you've got to change the money shot. You've got to look at putting words like flexibility around deposit with settlement terms to stay flexible with the buyers. Sometimes we even put the words trade in there. Our job is to find cash, is to find conditional, find people with property to trade, like do anything and everything. Open homes, Andrew, right? Lots and lots of properties are on the market right now. A lot of open homes are at 1, 2, 3 o'clock.
Right.
So have a guess what time our open home's going to be. No, it's going to be at 1:15. Does that help our chances go up or down?
Good.
Like even search engine optimization, those 5 keywords that people search for online: freehold, pools, views, schools, home and income. So even if the property doesn't have those things, you could say it's within a 1.2k walk to the local swimming pool.
Yeah.
They're all strategies, right?
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with a real estate professional, they'll have those strategies.
Yeah. And I think this is, nothing comes with any guarantees. And we make changes, and it's a little bit unreassuring because we don't know whether we made a good change until afterwards. But sitting there, definition of insanity, doing the same thing, expecting a different result, and praying.
Praying they're going to come through the open. And the classic for me is, the weather was bad this weekend. That's why no one come through. I don't know, a lot of people went through another open home. And sometimes too, it's okay that if you're getting low numbers because now there's a limited pool of buyers for your property.
Yep.
And that's okay as well.
Correct.
So when an offer presents itself, okay, this is the conditions, this is the market.
Yeah.
Not all are going to get 50, 60 groups through.
And I think that's really important. We deal in lots of generalisations, but you're right. There are products that are going to have a specific buyer, development sites and all that sort of stuff aren't going to be everyone's cup of tea. And so I think you make a really good point there that whilst, yes, 40 to 60 groups of people through, sometimes we can actually have a conversation about quality. Look, we only had 5 groups of people through, but we've got 2 that really like it. We're getting the exact right people through, so we're actually on track. From that perspective.
Or 5 grew and we've got 1 bidder. The good news is we've got 1 bidder. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if it's a no, it's okay. And it is okay, but know that we've got no one else in the trenches coming up behind. So then the owners can make a decision, not based on hope or want or hoping that there's a pool of buyers behind. We've found a buyer. Would you like to move on? Yes or no, under no duress, no pressure.
Yeah, sure. So the third thing that I see happening out there in terms of campaign killers, if we move on, is seeing people's inability, and I'm probably talking about agents' inability, maybe everyone's inability to problem solve.
Yes.
Because would it be fair to say we start a campaign, things are going to pop up, right?
Yeah, there's always a few bumps in the road.
Right. So having an agent that's got the ability to problem solve, I think, is really, really important. And one of the things that, you know, I sold a property of my own a couple of years ago. It was a first home buyer type property. And the first thing the agent said to me, Andrew, is, I don't know if we should go to auction. And I said, what do you mean? I'm an auctioneer. We've got to go to auction. And he said, well, no, I understand that. But he said, all of your buyers are going to need to get finance, and they're all going to need to probably get building inspections.
And they don't want to spend the money.
And they don't want to spend the money up front, right?
Yeah.
So we sat down and developed a strategy that if any buyer, and it was the agent's job to find out if the buyers needed help in this situation, if any buyer needed a valuation or a building inspection, that I would personally, as the vendor, contribute $500 to the cost of getting that due diligence completed. Not the entire amount.
No, they need to have skin in play.
I wanted them to have a little bit of skin, but not, you know, but I wanted to make it easy, right? And do you know what he said to me, the agent? He goes, Andrew, what if 10 people ask you for?
I can see where it's going. It's a good problem.
I said,
I'm happy to cut a check.
Are you kidding me? You're telling me I wouldn't pay $5,000 to have 10 bidders at my auction?
Yeah.
Now, the irony of it is we did have 10 bidders, and I didn't have to write out one cheque.
But it also sends a signal to the buyers to go, our owner's serious about selling, because he's not cutting those checks either. See, I had a good problem solving one the other day with a property that we sold that we took to auction, and there was no interest. And the vendor said, well, how are we going to create a market? Because in that area, there weren't a lot of sales happening in the $3 million bracket. So we put in the advertising the word trade. The agent, clever enough, found a buyer who had a property to trade, brought it to the owner with the difference of cash. The owner went, no, that's okay. We brought them something to say no to. And what happened 3 or 4 weeks later? The same buyer with a delayed settlement and flexibility on deposit bought the entire property cash unconditional.
Wow.
So found a problem, created a market, just wasn't looking for that miracle market. Because sometimes, in your words, Andrew, you got to go the width and the breadth of the market to create a market to find the buyers.
Yeah, no, it's impressive. I mean, as I said, we can't fix everything, but, you know, some forewarned, forearmed, front-footing it. And I think you started today talking about getting all your ducks lined up and your paperwork tied in. And again, I'd reiterate, if anyone's thinking of selling in the next 5 years, go and order a limb today. See what your property is.
And get a building report too, right? Like, find out if there's an issue that you can, so when you go to the market, there's no surprises, because they're for birthdays and Christmases.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. I was talking to a business owner who was looking at selling his business, and he was getting all his books tidied up, and he said something like, he goes, you know what, a business that's ready to sell is a pleasure to own. I reckon it's the same with a home, you know?
Quite often they'll buy it back, you're right there. Well, that's one of the problems too. Sometimes people write ads for the owners, and they're buying it back from the marketplace because it makes them feel good and go, why are we actually selling our property? You have to write ads not to appease the owners. You've got to write ads that compete with the market, that attract the buyers to the home.
Well, that comes back to that conversation about we're not getting enough people through. And typically, as I said, we're writing ads that excite the owners, not the buyers. And so it's just getting that balance. It is, you're right, it's getting that balance absolutely right. Because fundamentally, if we don't get the people through, it makes it really hard.
One of my pet little, one of my hacks, Andrew, whatever you can see in the money shot, do not repeat that back in the advertising text, in the stories that you're telling. So don't tell me it's 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom. Don't tell me it has a stunning view when you can see a view from the property. Don't tell me what I see already.
Right.
Tell me what I don't know. What's the emotive story around living in that community?
Yeah. And that's a great thing from an agent. If you're looking for an agent to add value, we want to know the intangibles. You know, you talk about everyone can see it's got bedrooms and bathrooms and view and all that sort of stuff. But what are the intangibles that somebody might walk into that home, might move into that home and go, wow, didn't realise this. And when I talk about intangibles, I was talking to a lady the other day and I said, I'm going to auction your home. Tell me some things you've enjoyed. She said, Andrew, could you talk about the shower in the ensuite? And I said, sure. sure. Tell me about the shower in the ensuite. And she said, well, it's an amazing shower, wonderful water pressure, nothing worse starting the day with a bad shower. And so I started talking about this. No one in the room knew about the shower, but it made everyone smile.
Well, they didn't know it, right?
No.
They fall in love with the house, but no one's had a shower in the home. So I kind of like that it got their attention. Let's talk about if the property has not sold at auction, and that happens, right?
Absolutely.
Roughly, let's say a third of properties, different, Cooper Co, a third will sell. A third will sell post-auction, and a third will never sell because owners have a higher regard for their home than the marketplace, and that's okay. We never force anyone to sell for $1 less than they want to. But what are the best strategies post-auction that are working for you?
Sure. Well, I think the first strategy is to have a strategy.
Yeah.
And when owners don't have a plan, or they believe that the plan was only to auction day, that's where they start feeling, wow, a bit out of control. So
you've discussed that strategy at the reserve. We don't call it a reserve set. It's a strategy meeting before the auction. Yeah. We're setting the reserve.
So we have a plan A, and then we have a robust plan B. And
I like those words, robust plan B.
Well, and it's just another way of saying a good plan B.
Yeah.
And the plan B for me kind of depends on what we've got to work with. So, for example, if we've generated absolutely no interest, we've got no buyers sitting on the wings waiting till after auction, my strategy might be, rightio, we've tried no marketing, no price marketing, now let's put a price on it. And particularly if I have got a motivated, reasonable seller and their selling expectations are what we believe to be fair and reasonable, getting a price out there, we know the buyers love seeing it. Anyone that's watching the property on all the various websites, Trade Me, Real Estate,
get notified.
They get notified.
Yeah.
And for a wee window and moment of time, I reckon your property looks like it's a new property to the market because it's been presented in a new way. The other thing, as soon as we put that price on it, we find out really quickly whether the fish are taking the bait, whether the market likes the price or not. And when it's fairly priced or well priced, we get really good inquiry. When it's a bit too high, it typically goes really quiet. So for me, that's quite a good strategy if we've got no one to work with. Now, where we've got 2 or 3 buyers conditionally interested in the property, some of them at the moment are even writing up offers saying, Andrew, right, this is, and...
Well, that's a strategy for a conditional buyer, right? If you genuinely have interest in an auction property, I say to people, put it on paper, give it to the auctioneer before the auction. We have to disclose all known information.
100%.
Why would you sit there and not show your hand? And it could sell for, who knows what happens. Take charge of the process. Anyway, back to the conditional offers.
But coming on what you said there, why that is a good strategy is because you might be, as a conditional buyer, sitting there keeping your cards dry. There's only one unconditional buyer in the room. The owners take it, and you might have paid a little bit more, and the owners didn't have access to that information and
intel.
And if you might have only been subject to finance and a building inspection, and your conditions weren't actually that onerous, but prepared to offer an extra $20,000-$30,000, which the owners just didn't have that opportunity to access, see, or know about. So sometimes, we do ourselves disfavours by sitting back and waiting, and everyone has their own strategy and plan. We're just trying to, I guess, give some tips around spaces that we've seen to I guess, make sure. I mean, as long as everyone's getting all the information, we're
That's
happy.
The key.
Yeah.
And I always say this, Andrew, to sellers too, don't put your life on hold for conditional buyers who, number one, are not prepared to put pen to paper, or number two, turn up on auction day. Because quite often those conditional buyers are going, Andrew, I've got some interest in the property. If the price is low enough and I can put all my escape clauses or my love letter in, so don't put your life on hold either. If there's conditional interest there, I say, it's hard for anyone to get in. Show me that you're in, and if you're not in, then I always advocate going to the market with a price, because if there's tumbleweeds and crickets, phone's not going, there's no email inquiry, then you know that the market, if a home's not selling, then the value, the price and what's on offer is just not compelling enough.
Yeah. It's interesting. Sometimes we completely contradict ourselves, and sometimes we say you're better off dealing with the conditional buyers afterwards because there is more money there, and sometimes we sit there and go, well, we're not sure that you are. So it's really hard, and you've just got to play the cards you're dealt.
Yeah.
Give everyone as much information, and you're right. I had a situation in the last week on auction day, a conditional buyer prepared to give us this, but it was conditional on the world, and the owners had to get a CCC for something and blah, blah, blah. And then there was this other offer, unconditional, we'll take it without you having to get the CCC. It was less money, but it just made more sense to the owners, and they just grabbed the certainty and the fact that they didn't have to do anything and that they could move on with their lives, and they just grabbed it and happily ran.
And the important thing here is the seller's got to make the decision with all known facts.
Correct.
Versus withholding information, go, oh no, it's an auction property, you have to wait until after auction day.
Yeah.
So disclose all known information, stay out of the way, let the vendors make an informed decision, and in your words, risk and reward go hand in hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I have got a whole lot of conditional buyers and I'm passing in the property and we're not selling, we still try to see if there's somebody that might have snuck through the cracks. Not usually the case, because we're asking for registrations these days, and we've got a far better idea around whether we've got bidders or not. And so one of the strategies that some of the agents are doing is, okay, we've got 3 buyers, we're going to not put a price on it at the moment, we're going to give you the weekend to get your offers submitted, and we're going to do a deadline sale Monday 4 p.m. We'll present all offers, and again, just there to create another layer of urgency.
Yes.
Right. And as I said, a plan. So if that works and it sells, great. It's sold conditionally on Monday 4 p.m. If we have nobody, then we would probably look to put a price on it.
But don't run the mistake I've seen of, we're just going to try going no price on application or PBN for 2 weeks, right? Get it into a multi-offer, have a strategy. Within 48 hours, if it hasn't worked, price, and after 3 or 4 days on the market, then sometimes you've got to have those honest conversations and go, right, we've gone to the campaign, we haven't sold, we've got no conditional interest in the property, the market's just not responding at your level. So we need to look to make a correction, and they're hard conversations, but they're conversations that have to be had.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I see nobody talking about with the buy negotiation strategy is that we don't talk about it, but I think all of us kind of think, oh, that property, they either want too much money, not prepared to commit to a price, not motivated enough to auction it or tender it, and they're just there.
Yeah.
You know?
In no man's land. But what are some of the questions that vendors should be asking their agents?
Most owners, when I'm sitting down with them, they say, Andrew, explain to me why if I run with you, I've got a better chance of getting more money than if I go with any other agent.
And if they don't, you need to make sure that you tell them that, right? That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm not here to compete on commission or what inducements that I can give you. I'm here to show you that I can maximise your price. If I can, I earn the right to have your business. And if I cannot, nice to meet you, have a nice day, shake their hand, move on.
Sure, and so typically the objections and a listing presentation in some ways is a negotiation, right?
Yeah.
Ideally as an agent, I want to leave the listing negotiation with an auction or an exclusive campaign where I've got your full commitment. I want to leave with a marketing campaign and a budget that's going to generate lots of interest and excitement. I want to leave with my standard commission. And commission's an interesting thing because everything in this world is negotiable. But owners, if you're watching this, sellers, if you're watching this, I have seen agents walk into the office with new listings, and I've seen the agent. I've seen the agent that walks in with getting paid full fee, standard fee, whatever you want to call it, and they're excited,
proud.
And then I've seen the agents that also walk in where they've gone through a tough negotiation and been beaten up by an owner, and they're almost broken before the thing started.
And the buyers agents in the office who have worked hard to find a good, hot cash buyer are going, well, hang on, why am I going to take my best buyer to that property when I've got so much to choose from? Because making $1 is not a crime either. So you're motivating the agent and the buyer's agencies, you're motivating everyone to make, that's what we're there to do, right? Make people money, not save them money.
And we talk about how do we get more people through a property, right? Because the more people we get through a property, the more chances we meet buyers, the more chance we meet buyers, the more chance we create competition, the more competition we create, the better chance we get a better price. So in theory, you really want to be listing your property with an agency that's got lots of foot soldiers on the ground.
Yes.
And so what Aaron's talking about is the commission structure, those foot soldiers, they get to see the commission split that they get paid, and if there's if there's some similar type product, why would I not take my clients to the one where I'm going to get better remunerated, and get excited about taking those buyers there? That's what you're talking about?
It is, but it's also one of an owner. Sometimes owners think they're having a win by negotiating a really good commission up front, only to be disappointed, 3, 4, 5 weeks down the track. Yep. Someone who can defend their fee, but don't get us wrong, right? There's always a deal to be done, because we're all in that decision-making mode. In this day and age, everyone has to make a lot of decisions, and we're used to getting deals.
Yes.
What I'm saying, as long as it's a win-win.
Yeah. Really, what you're looking for is an agent that's competent in terms of experience and the ability to, I guess, but also an agent that you want to work with as well.
That you like?
Yeah. And sometimes I give the analogy that our business doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so, for example, if I said to you, Aaron, you're heading overseas. You are heading overseas soon. I'm going to give you a choice of travelling companions. I'm going to give you this person to travel with who speaks the local language, knows all the best cafes and restaurants and bars to go, knows all the local tourist sites to go, right?
And to avoid.
All right? And you're going to spend the next 6 weeks with this person, but you don't like them. Or I'm going to give you an opportunity to spend the next 6 weeks with somebody who doesn't speak the local language, doesn't know any of the cafes, the bars, the hotspots, the local tourist destinations, where to go, where not to go, but you like them. Who are you spending the next 6 weeks with?
The one you like.
And sometimes in real estate, we see vendors do the same thing. They choose the one they like, not always the most competent.
Yes.
If you can get a bit of both, I reckon
Balance.
that's the key. Right?
So what are some of the other questions that a vendor can ask to make sure that they're getting what they need, the right questions?
So if I was looking to sell my house,
yes,
and I was interviewing an agent, one of the things, and I would be going to auction, and one of the things that I'd be saying to them is, okay, what does auction day look like? What are we trying to create?
Yes.
Because I like to start with the end in mind.
Yeah.
So there's a plan. And so you've talked about...
Well, okay, let's roll. And I'm a seller. I'm going, well, I want multiple bidders, Andrew.
Yeah.
I want the room full of bidders for my property.
Okay. And so I'm sitting here going, well, okay, in order to hit our KPI, we've got to hit some critical numbers. I've got to get 40 to 60 groups of people through over the next 3 to 4 weeks. Okay? If I don't hit my critical numbers week 1, we're changing something straight away. What's going to determine my ability to get more people through the property, I reckon, is creating a selling story that endears people to your property.
Yep.
And you know what the best selling story is, Aaron?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
The truth.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the truth, i.e., tell us why you're selling. Owners relocating, owners doing this, whatever they're doing, downsizing after 30 years, it's just too big for them.
Well, that's their genuine reason to sell, right?
Yeah. And so I want a selling story that's going to endear people to the property. I want a marketing budget that's going to make sure people see the selling story.
Yeah.
And then you want to have an agent that knows how to handle the inquiry. Okay, and would it be fair to say when people engage, we either pull them in or push them away?
Oh yes.
So
and those first 5 calls are critical, right? Because usually they are the people that are most hottest, that are in the market, that have found your property.
And this is where it also gets, I reckon, really interesting, because sometimes those inquiries will be, look, I know I've got an owner, I've got a property that I think's worth $1 million, and a buyer phones me up and says, Andrew, we've only got $800,000. We see the property, are we wasting our time? And I'm in this situation where I'm going, well, the marketing money has earned that inquiry. I'd love to get that inquiry through the property, but at the same time, I don't want to waste that person's time.
Correct.
And so sometimes I'm finding myself saying to the buyer, you know what, at $800,000, I'd love to think I can do a bit better. But it's actually not my decision. Yeah. And I'm kind of damned if I do, damned if I don't. Like
Another good line that I heard the other day was like, okay, at that number, it would represent extremely good value, is all I'm saying. Don't be surprised if we had, you have to, because you never truly know, do you?
No, you don't.
You never truly know, but yes.
And also, I don't want to take a buyer's perceived opportunity away from them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, I was talking with an owner the other day, and we had a low offer come in, and they were a bit upset with it. And I said, look, I don't think we should ever get upset with a buyer trying to buy well.
Yeah.
That's just a starting point. Let's see where we can take them. But let's understand where they're coming from. All of their friends and family and advisors are telling them it's a buyer's market and all this sort of stuff. And so I think they're entitled to have a go.
And they're trying to buy at tomorrow's price, not today's price.
Yeah. So as I said, I want to have a plan in terms of what my auction day looks like. I know that if we get the process right, I'll end up with 4 or 5 bidders. If I've got 4 or 5 bidders, then more than likely I'm going to have an opportunity to meet the market.
Yeah.
And also with 4 or 5 bidders, I've got I'm hoping I've got the opportunity to hear the auctioneer say those magic words. It's on the market. And it's on the market is really interesting. It basically means the reserve price has been met for those of you that might be first time watching this about auctions. So, and it's kind of the only time I've seen magic happen in real estate. Like things happen that I did not think that was going to happen.
Competitive arousal. I saw a social media, you sold one $300,000 just recently, right?
Yeah.
On the market, $300,000 more.
Yeah, and do you know why that happened?
No.
Well, it happened.
Competitive arousal, in your words.
But it also happened because the agent gave it a chance to happen.
Yeah.
By going to auction, because it wasn't going to happen in any other method of sale.
No.
Like I can say that with like 99% accuracy, right? It just wasn't going to happen. But the whole thing with when the reserve has been met, it's really fascinating because I also see all of a sudden we're now selling certainty.
Yeah.
You know, uncertainty is harder to sell than certainty. And all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, it's on the market. One of you leaves as the new owner, the rest of you just leave. Yeah. It's going to be sold. One of you is looking at open homes this weekend, one of you is not. One of you is, whatever, focusing on Christmas, focusing on the rest of the year, getting on with your life, getting real estate agents out of your life. One of you is doing that, the rest of you are not.
Yeah. And you see the buyers roll up their sleeves and go, right, don't have to worry about the auctioneer anymore. Don't have to worry about the reserve or the vendors. It's just the transparency of what's in this room. Do I want ownership more than somebody else?
Yeah. The other thing that I'm harping on at the moment a lot with my real estate agents is what is your process for determining quality buyers versus low quality, or high quality versus low quality buyers?
Yeah.
Because fundamentally, I reckon that's the biggest thing at the moment that will determine whether you sell well or just sell. Yeah. Is the quality of the buyer. Yeah. Because everyone thinks it's just about the money. You know, it's not always. Like if I'm looking to buy a property and I've sold and I'm about to be homeless in 1 month's time, and I've got 3 children and a pregnant wife.
School holidays,
would it
in-laws coming to visit in 6 months from the UK, who knows, right? Whatever.
What my circumstances, and we often don't know people's circumstances, but would it be fair to say that if I had to pay an extra $50,000 to make sure my children and family have somewhere to live in a month, may not be that big a deal for me. I'd rather just write the check. Yeah. Make sense? So it's not all about buying at the bottom and at the best price. Yeah. And so, as a general rule of thumb, high quality buyers, are ones with there's other stuff going on. The good agents find out the other stuff.
So we're on buyers now. What are the tips, Andrew? Right now, a lot of buyers have seen all the strategies on YouTube and boom about big bold bids and bid strong and get in early. But what are some of the tips they haven't heard?
Right. Well, I think the first thing from a buyer strategy, please don't make the auction that you're wanting to buy your first auction.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
How many have you been to? Oh, this is the first one. Oh, right, okay, right.
So go along and watch a couple. And most of the big companies are having auction days where there's like 8, 10, 15 auctions all being done at once, which gives you a really good flavour of the market, and also should allow you to see a whole lot of different dynamics, different bidding strategies. You'll see auctions with one bidder, you might see an auction called forward, you might see auction with multiple bidders, you might see an auction with no bidders, right?
Or one get withdrawn and sold and go, what happened there? The bidding stopped, they went out to chat and the auctioneer walked out and said it was sold. So don't be a first-time rookie is what we're saying, because then you will feel a level of pressure that comes internally because you're buying a home with hundreds or millions of dollars, so you're getting more comfortable with the environment, so you'll make a good informed decision. My tip is introduce yourself to the auctioneer.
Absolutely.
Because we have no vested interest in the outcome of what's going to happen. We just want to find the best buyer for the home and give everyone equal opportunity. My frustration is people who sit on their hands, who wait, who hide in the corner, and then we miss them. They miss the opportunity.
Yeah.
So don't be a secret agent. You do yourself no favours. What about some other strategies, Andrew?
Well, I mean, even in that conversation just then, there's a couple of things to unpack. What do you mean an auction can get sold out the back? I don't what are you talking about? What does that mean?
You have to have the highest bid.
Okay.
Sometimes a lot of buyers will go to auction, as we know, and they'll go, I'm only going to bid when I hear those words, on the market.
So they sit and wait.
They sit and wait.
Right.
Where it's the owner's legal right, it's their home, it's their money. 2.6 says the property can be withdrawn and sold at any point in time. So if we're dealing with an auction and it pauses, we go out and have a chat to the highest bidder and say, we need more money. Sometimes they say, sure, Aaron, I'll give you more money, but the property's sold to me here and now.
And it doesn't go back out.
Doesn't go back out.
So that person waiting, thinking they're a little bit clever.
Property is sold. They go, oh, what did it sell for? Sorry, it's been withdrawn and it's been sold.
Okay. So good tact. Whether it's above or below the reserve price, you want to be in the highest bidder. So you're in control, right?
Correct. If it's in your range and you can afford it, hold the highest bid to have all favours and all intel. Even if the property's getting passed in, you're in a whole lot stronger position because you'll actually know what the owner's bottom line is when and if it does go into a multi-offer post-auction.
Now, I just want to be clear to those watching, this doesn't happen all of the time. And you might say to an auctioneer or an owner, I'll give you this much money on the basis that it's withdrawn and sold, and they go, no. We're happy to take your offer, but it has to go back out in the room because that's the lowest, we only would accept that offer if we were given a chance of maybe getting more. And then we have this interesting situation, we go back out in the room and everyone's crossing their fingers. The buyer's hoping no one else bids, the seller's hoping somebody else does bid, and we see who gets it right.
But I've also been in situations before when the highest bidder is given such an increase in price that the owners go, oh, okay, we don't want to risk. But again, it's their decision. 100%. So sometimes I go to my sellers and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, in one hand, they're prepared to be at $1 million on the market and compete with the open market, no problem. And on the other hand, they're putting up $1,040,000 for the right for it to be withdrawn and sold. So all of those dynamics are in play, but the only way to know and be in that position is hold the highest bid.
100%. You made another comment about meeting the auctioneer, and I think probably adding on to that, what we're actually saying is if you want our owners to be fair and reasonable sellers, you have to play your role as the market, show them the market. And that's that other problem with sitting on your hands. You don't give the sellers an opportunity to make a decision. I'm not saying go crazy and overpay, but play your role as the market, show them market value, and most of the time they listen. And even if they wanted more and they see you're trying to buy, they want to deal with you, because that's, I reckon, rule number one with a negotiation. You want everyone liking each other. And if, as a buyer, you do anything to upset the owner or make the owner not want to deal with you, you actually make your buying prospects harder.
Well, you force them to go, no, I'm going to go deal with the murky waters of the conditional market. So be fair and reasonable, and usually most people will meet you halfway. But try and lowball it too much, you do yourself no favours.
Well, one of the things that I find quite fascinating is that the real estate agent is, of course, employed by the vendor, right? But if he doesn't help the buyer, or she doesn't help the buyer, or they don't help the buyer, they don't get paid either. And often you'll find the real estate agent has a vested interest in helping you bid and helping you buy. And sometimes they're competing against buyers that are not their own, and so they actually want you to win. And sometimes they've got some useful stuff to tell you. So you might as well extract as much information as you possibly can.
People focus on the money so often, which is important, but there's a whole lot of other stuff.
Well, this is funny. We talked about owners and agents getting their ducks in a row. It's the same with buyers, and isn't it amazing how often buyers will turn up and they'll go, what is the settlement date? And it's like this, and I'm like, and what is the deposit? It's 10%. And you're right. I mean, if I've only got $100,000 in my bank account, but maybe I've got lending capacity to 1.2, I reckon most owners are going to say, "Yep, we're happy to accept a $100,000 deposit, and if they've got more to bid past $1 million, let them go. We're happy to have them as part of our auction day."
They will work with it, but that's also a savvy agent knows to ask those questions, right?
300%.
Have you thought about the deposit? Have you thought about the settlement terms? Have you checked out the chattels? Bomb. Because if you've got those ready to go, it takes everyone from a possible to a probable bidder.
The only tip really I've got left now is I was asked to do some bidding for some friends recently at another company's auction.
Did you feel the pressure?
Yeah. I did, and we got damn close to. I was getting close to all I had to work with.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I did to try and make my money go a little bit further was to take the opposition bid. So what I mean by that is I would hold the bid. I'm standing at the side of the room because that's where I like to, and I was watching the party that I'm bidding against.
Okay, so let's role play that for the people. So you hold the bid at 980,000 at 980 with you, so
Yep.
I'm bidding away for another 5 at 980.
Yep, I'm watching it. We're in $5,000
Yep.
bids, and she's just about. I go 85.
So okay, double bid at 85 at a bid now, at 85 at 985 at a bid now. I bid it away for a little 5.
90.
Okay, that's a triple bid. Yeah, you keep taking her bid.
But only when I was confident she was about to bid, and
yeah.
I would be louder than her,
Yeah.
so I would get the bid. So the benefit means that if she'd gone 85, then I had to go 90.
Yeah.
But if I can get there one bit earlier, I'm
Yes.
saving myself a little bit of money.
Yep.
Does it make sense?
It certainly does. It's a great strategy. And I'll finish with my last one is how many times do bidders turn up with round numbers? They go, we've got $1 million to spend, or pre-approval doesn't usually go at $1,005,000
No.
or 990.
No.
It rounds at $1 million. And if you feel you're in the room and you can feel 9, 10, 20, 30, 40, it's like, mate, you just got to get to your number.
Yeah.
$1 million. And it might work.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, if the bidding rolls over it, it's okay. You can change your mind or go, hey, we had a genuine shot at the property, stick around, see what it sells for, bank the knowledge and move on.
Well, it's a great question. If the reserve's $1 million and you know, I've got two first-home buyers that have both got $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Who wins the auction?
The one that gets there first.
The one that gets there first, or the one that pulls out the credit card and goes $1,000,001 or whatever.
No, Mum, Dad.
Yeah. Everyone seems to go to the bank and they pre-approve us to nice round pretty numbers.
Yeah.
Our advice would be try to get approved to an ugly number because
Yeah.
so many of them sell for $1,007,500.
Yes.
Where people are just trying to find change from everywhere and trying to make it work. And if you can just again be organised, prepared.